Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. Right now, we're listening to Mercy by my special guest today, Alan Ward. Alan Ward is a Milwaukee-born rapper and songwriter. He's been referred to as a torchbearer of the golden era of rap, transporting his listeners back to the glory days of backpack rap. He's known for combining modern hip-hop with old-school heart, sharing his self-discovery, his independence, and perseverance, and his powerful lyrics. He began by writing poetry at age 12 and recording songs in high school, and Alan committed his life to music after college and launched his professional career in 2019 with his debut EP, June. Since then, he's built a steadily growing catalog and an army of worldwide fans organically. His career has been fully independent, and he's earned recognition for his unique blend and his signature style, blending boom bap influences with introspective storytelling. Welcome to the Jeremiah Show, Alan.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I'm still blown away by the intro from earlier. I'm still thinking about that, but thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, there's a long story that I won't bore everybody with, but Alan and I have been trying to get him on the show. It's been my fault. I'll take all the blame.
No, I'll take a little bit too. It takes two.
I don't think any of it's you. I think it was all me and my bad scheduling. But Alan, you're here now, and I'm so happy to have you in that seat, be looking over at you, and to get to know you a little bit more, because I've built up quite a fandom or a fan of your music over the last few months, and so now it's nice to listen to it with you, to spin it with you, and then to also get to know you, because it's been a long time. So welcome to the show. The biggest welcome I can give you.
Thank you.
All right. You know, the opening that you referred to about Milwaukee was inspired through some of your lyrics, but it was also inspired by your growing up there in the city, and it just sort of took on, for me, fantasy. Imagination was born from the city. I didn't know much about it, and so I started looking into it, and that was inspired by you and but I want to hear from you. What was it like growing up in Milwaukee? To describe your personal experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, growing up in Milwaukee, just the city of Milwaukee overall, I think not necessarily worldwide, but definitely in the States, is definitely an under talked about, an underrated city as far as kind of what it's brought to the rest of the country, whether it be, like agriculture, whether it be, certain economic aspects, and then of course entertainment overall, kind of as you touched on. But growing up in Milwaukee was cool. I can definitely say I had a good childhood. I got to see kind of every side of the fence, if you will. I had people who lived in the not so good parts, and and I grew up mainly in like one of the best parts, in the city. So it's like I got to see all these different types of perspectives, all these different kind of lifestyles, kind of throughout my life up until I went off to college when I was 18. But, from 0 to 18, I lived in a bunch of different cities. I lived in, or a bunch of different parts of the city, whether it be county. Like I said, I lived in Milwaukee. I lived, in Bayside was the longest I lived in. Brown Deer for a little bit, Glendale for a little bit. Lived, on the north side for a little bit. I'm kind of from, when people ask where I'm from, I'm just from all over the city. I don't have necessarily one hometown, but all over the city.
So you've experienced it from all angles and seen it from all angles. Picasso, there's a line in Picasso, right? How many places you've lived, and you're only, I forget the exact, I don't want to misquote it, but how does it go?
I think barely over 25, and I stayed in 80 cribs or something like that. Some over exaggeration, I promise. I've not stayed in 80 different homes. That'd be wild. But
I was going to ask you how that was accurate.
Yeah, from 0 to 18, I say I lived in about 8 to 10 different houses. So like a good amount of jumping around, where I didn't have, like I said, I only had like one kind of real household I grew up in for more than like 3 or 4 years at a time. But yeah, from 0 to then, I averaged moving every like 2 or 3 years. So it definitely gave me a lot of different perspective, got me used to being around a bunch of different cultures and faces, and getting used to being in different rooms, if you will. But I definitely underappreciated living in Milwaukee when I was there. Now I'm kind of older, and whenever I go back, I definitely grow kind of a bigger appreciation for it too. Now that I'm an adult and kind of can understand more of the history,
Yeah.
kind of my family roots and things like that. So I'd say growing up in Milwaukee was definitely a lot more underrated than people would assume.
When did spoken rhymes and storytelling and wordplay first become important to you?
I think as far as musically, I think that's always kind of been something I've wanted to do, just because that was always the music I leaned towards when I like kind of would listen to it over and over. I loved all genres and all sounds for the most part, but what I would get the closest to or kind of stick to was always kind of that more lyrical type of music where it's like, okay, well, the beat sounds good and it's a vibe. It was more so like, okay, well, the beat's got to be good, but then it's like, what's being said and how is it being said as well. So that's always like, even when I was younger, like 12, 13, when I kind of first started picking out my favorite genres of music and being like, okay, this is what I kind of want to spend my time listening to for the most part. It always kind of leaned more towards the lyrical, the more substance, if you want to use that kind of word.
Yeah, that's
Than like hip hop, rap, boom bap. I still love the radio stuff too when I was younger and have grown a bigger appreciation for it. Now I kind of understand why it needs to be out there. But as far as what I've listened to and what I stick to, I definitely want to stick with more people that have a lot more to tell and they might say it in a shorter amount of time.
it's something you said is very interesting to me. I want to see if I heard it correctly. I've never heard this before, and it's just beautiful. You were listening for words that were musical. Is that what you did? I understand
kind of different, like more like creative writing.
Yeah.
I had like a big interest in when I was younger, like poetry and things like that. So it was like I wasn't necessarily trying to go more into like just what's being said, but like how does this word actually sound? Kind of, I guess,
Yeah.
speaking in onomatopoeias and metaphors and that kind of stuff was like more of my interest, because it's like I wanted that the sound of what's being said that also kind of means something too, and not just like, well, someone's saying these popular words over this hype beat, and so this is good. It's like, no, how is this person being said? What are they actually saying over the beat that's going to catch you and be like, oh, I want to go back and listen to that. Or this lyric I'm not ever going to forget because of what's being said.
Yeah. I've never heard it said that way, and I think that's beautiful. You're listening. The words are music as well. They're instruments, just as important as the music that backs them or that surrounds and delivers the message. The word is beautiful. I love that. That's very cool. What do you think you were trying to say at that age?
Oh, at 12, 13. I mean, I grew up an only child, and I was in an area where, a bunch of people didn't necessarily look like me. So there was definitely this way that I wanted to kind of speak my mind without people hearing me, if that makes sense. So it's like, I wanted to be able to get whatever I had in here and here off of my chest. And then, where it wouldn't necessarily not just damage myself, but damage the people around me. So I kind of went into just writing. And so like a lot of my early like journals, like I wish I could find some of those, like my early journals and writings are kind of, I don't necessarily say more explicit than what I say now, but it's like, there's less of a filter, because it's like, well, I didn't think anyone was ever going to hear it. So it's like, I can kind of say whatever I want about whoever I want or about whatever I'm going through, instead of kind of putting this, not necessarily shielded lens or like this PG or PG-13 lens, but it was just like, well, I can't necessarily say how I'm feeling, what's going on to my mom, because my mother, being the loving human being she is, she's going to overreact to some of the stuff if I say it. And then it's like, if I say it to my friends, they're probably not going to be the right type of people to say have these inner thoughts, these inner feelings too, because 9 times out of 10, especially at that age, they're just going to make fun of you. So it's like, there was kind of no happy medium there. So I just kind of found writing to just be like, okay, just write how you feel. Kind of,
Were the words loud to you? Were they like in your head? Were they loud? Were they?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, they were definitely words I wouldn't have, definitely at that age, wouldn't have said out loud in general, but just because I was younger, so like even using more swears and curse words and just like more words that you would just hear on like the type of TV programs that might not have been like X-rated, but they might have been like TV 14, like just words that like adults were used to hearing all the time, but as a kid, you're like, they're kind of like taboos, like even just saying like damn and hell and things like that was like, oh, like I couldn't even say those types of words. So like saying that kind of stuff, those were like the loud like crashes, like those are like these are going to be the more like exaggerated words or phrases that kind of have to do with the more actual like TV 14 adult type of things that I was shielded from, but of course knew was still going on in the background. So,
but they were expressing what you were writing down, what you were hearing in your head. They were expressing what you were going through. If I understood you correctly there, maybe in a world that didn't look like you, or was maybe you felt you had questions, or you felt a fish out of water a little bit, but you took and internalized these thoughts, turned them into words, turned them into poetry. But they were a way for you to express and release that emotion that you were going through at that age, young as a young man. And what are you trying to say now? Do you have a message that you are working on? Alan Ward message, is that such a thing, or is it just experiences that you're going through right now?
I still say at the end of the day, the larger percentage is always going to just be like what I'm talking about is just my experience. But if I had to kind of categorize or give myself like a mission statement, if you will, as far as kind of what the message in my music is, it's just like there's always another side to the coin. Not everyone's the winner. You know what I'm saying? You're not always going to have the best days, but that doesn't mean they're always going to be the worst days you ever have. Someone's got to be number two. You know, being the loser in most situations doesn't mean you are a loser. That's kind of like the main theme I'm going with now for like a future project.
It's relatable. Very relatable.
Exactly. I try to make it as relatable and honest as possible because I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to quote unquote lie or exaggerate or kind of play with what you're going to say or play with how you're going to make music in a way. But just me personally, like I said, like as a kid, I use this as like a diary. And so like as I'm getting older, I'm still kind of doing that. So like when I go back and listen to it, or, you know, with my kids or whoever goes back and listens to these things at these certain times, they'll be able to listen to like, oh, this is what he was going through. These are experiences he's had, not necessarily like, okay, this was just a story he was telling to symbolize what he felt like. This is like, oh no, we know what he felt like. We know what he was going through because he's saying it in a pretty creative, directive way, in a sense. But yeah, I still say that message is just like, just try, be yourself. You know, it's not this, I don't think I have like a super complex message overall. You know, I'd love to hear if there's some wild theories out there on people thinking what I'm trying to say. I would love to hear that. But for me, it's just like, I'm getting stuff off my chest, and the message is just like, we all got bad days, man. We all don't win every day. Jordan didn't make every shot. You know, Gretzky didn't make every shot he put up on the net. You know, Ronaldo, no one makes 100% of the time. So everyone's got to be a loser at some point. And so why don't we rap about those aspects of life? So.
And aren't those topics and those relatable subjects or experiences that are yours? They're not mine. They're not you, but your listeners pick up on them and they make them theirs. And isn't that the best testament or a definition of a successful song or music, is when you can reach someone from around the world that may not have the exact same experiences, but relates to how you view and how you're dealing with your life. Then they make it theirs, and it becomes there's the magic in the music, right?
Exactly.
In the message. Are there certain topics that attract you, that you find yourself going back to, certain themes in your life that you write about more than others, or that you find connection with?
Certain themes, I'd say I try to talk about just like I don't want to call it the simple life, but the basic life as much. Like, not a lot of people talk about, especially in rapping, not a lot of people talk about things that they do on their, like, you know, day jobs, 9-to-5s, if you will. So I try to talk about that stuff pretty often. And then as far as kind of just overall like cultural themes, I'd say now I'm starting to touch a lot more on different things as far as just kind of how music's being made and how it's being listened to, per se. So we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but as far as like people making radio hits nowadays, I feel like back in the day, you know, of course, all the way up through like the 90s, probably like mid 2000s, you know, people were just making songs. They knew which ones would still go on the radio. Of course, like they still had that ear, but at the end of the day, they were just making songs, and they're like, well, this song sounds like it'd be on the radio. But nowadays, I feel like people are like, well, let's make a song for the radio. It's not like, oh, we're going to make this song. Once it's done, we listen to it. Oh, well, this would be a good radio hit. It's more so like, oh, we're making a song because we know this is just going to go on the radio. Or I guess a more accurate term would be like, it's going to blow up on TikTok. It's going to blow up on social media. So we're going to make this song because I have come across this a lot, especially on the different social media platforms, like finding like snippets of different songs from artists or just songs you may not have heard of. And you're like, man, that's a really good like snippet. Like I can't get that out of my head. But then you go to the streaming service and you listen to the whole song. You're like, I don't really like the rest of what's going on here. So it's like, so I've come across that, and I've like, I'll be honest, I've not necessarily tried to capitalize on it, but there are times when I put out like my little promotional clips and stuff. I do try to take parts of the song that I think people will like more. But when I'm making songs, I don't think I've ever really like, all right, I'm going to make this song just because I know, oh, this is going to blow up on TikTok possibly, or get on Instagram, or the radio's going to love it because it's like got these buzzwords or these, certain phrases that everyone's saying right now. So that is definitely something I try to touch on or have been touching on in my music lately, just as far as like I guess you can overall say the overall quality of the music, or like the reasoning behind the quality of the music.
Well, and you're really well known for doing it yourself. You've really built this career that you have that's building and building on your own. You're fiercely independent, I think is a truthful statement. How would you define artist integrity, artistic integrity, and what does it mean to you as an artist? Is it a rule that you follow, or is it a mantra, or something that you strive to become?
I would say overall, yes, I definitely try to have as much artist integrity, because I think who you are as an artist is always going to partially be at the root of it who you are as a person, in a way. I mean, we've definitely seen a lot of people, or seen a lot of stories where it's like, oh, this person became big, became this certain type of artist, and the people who grew up with them, like, they were nothing like that. So it's like you definitely have those instances as well. But as far as artist integrity, I definitely try to practice it, just because I've been got a bunch in this, and I'm not, what I'm saying. I've gotten the wool pulled over my eyes, what have you. Thinking things are gonna happen and they don't, being made these promises. So I try, if people are gonna work with me, I try my best to just be as honest and as straightforward and kind of as reasonable as possible too, because it's like, especially, kind of what I do outside of music, I still work in entertainment and like event management. So it's like you come to realize a lot of the stuff is just who's asking and who's answering that question as far as why that business is going the way it is. It can be much simpler if there's two entities that are just like, well, we're just doing this for the love of the sport, love of the game. We're just doing this because we have to, yada, yada. But it's like, there's a lot of times you realize things go awry, or like things get misconstrued, or there's drama because like one end of that connection just decided like, I'm going to just blow up, or like, I'm just going to make this more difficult. So when I work with other artists or creatives, I try to keep that integrity at the same level, kind of no matter what level of artistry they are, or how famous, how many followers, whatever. I try to treat everyone as similarly as possible, which, in these years I've noticed it kind of helps, it kind of doesn't, but then it's like, well, how does it make me feel? And so that's kind of what I've been not struggling with, but like kind of going back and forth with like, should I just kind of start to do the whole half industry fake like, or should I just be like, if I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't. If you want to work, you can. If not, all good. I'll ask again later, maybe, and you'll change your mind. But it's like, I try not to take too much at heart. But yeah, you just realize, I feel like artist integrity is something you should have, but it's definitely not something everyone has. And like I said earlier, I think it's because of the root of who that person is. They probably just didn't have it in the first place. So when they bring it into this medium or into this space, they're probably not going to have it there. So I try to do my best to just be simple. If you want to work, let's work. If not, cool. If what I got isn't nice, isn't good, you can tell me it's bad. I'm not gonna blow up at you. It's just music at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I try to keep everything as honest and as level-headed as possible when it comes
authentic.
To
you sound like authentic. Being authentic is important to your artist integrity and to who you are as a person. That's great. Hard to do, isn't it? It's hard to stay when you've got those rules and that compass to stick to that. Sometimes it's hard, especially in this business. When you began writing at 12, was there someone in your neighborhood that you looked up to, that you wanted to emulate someday, that you respected, either musically or writing? Was there anybody that you looked at and said, I want to be like that someday?
Ooh, musically wise, no one really that I grew up around or family wise, like really was making music until I got to like high school and I found like a group of like my group of friends, some of them kind of made music, but like when I was that young, um, no, not really. I really just based it off of whatever music I was around and it kind of made them react a certain way. So like a lot of the people like growing up looking up to like my uncles, like I looked up to them as like the coolest people in the world. So it's like whenever they would come pick me up, because like I'm trying to think I was that age. So like they were probably in like their early to like mid 30s when I was like a kid. So they were playing like all the kind of music my mom did not want me hearing when they came to pick me up for like, you know, getting babysat or whether it be basketball, football, whatever it was. So like that kind of sparked it because kind of seeing how they just like even just like how loud they played it in the car, like just that to me as a kid, it was like you can't not love this music if you're not gonna play it at full blast. Like no one's gonna play music you're not obsessed with, you don't love at full blast. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
just when my uncles would do that with like of course, like DMX, like Ludacris, Jay-Z, Nas, like they were playing all that, you know, throughout my upbringing. Even now, like once I've gotten older, like they still kind of tap into that same kind of style of music. Like, of course, the Locks, they even listen to like, you know, a lot of like the West Side Gun, Benny the Butcher, like they listen to the new J. Cole. So they still have that same ear where it's like they listen to music, but like that root of like that hardcore, that boom bap, they still listen to that even in this new age. So
And
I
did
see.
they know that they had a young student right there, that you were soaking this in, and this was going to be your thing? You were learning. You were there.
No, I don't think they did. I really don't think they did because I'm sure they were probably like, oh, I mean, they probably based it more so off of what they knew my mom wouldn't allow at home. So they're just like, there's no way he's gonna like this music because my sister, my mom, their sister, my mom is not playing DMX, Ludacris. She's just not playing. So there's no way he's gonna like it. But I was in the back, fascinated when they were bumping this music.
What does your mom think about your music now?
That that's funny you asked because yes, yeah, I actually I had like some article come out about me a couple days ago before I came back here to Baltimore from Milwaukee for like Christmas break to kind of see all the fam, tap in, do whatever I need to do. You know, she asked me about it, and she's like, yeah, and she's known about it. She found out about it late, but she's known about it now for the last couple years. But she's like, yeah, can you start like sending me whatever songs you think is okay for me to listen to? Like, cause like she knows I've told her I'm like, Mom, I don't. It's not that I don't want you to listen because I'm like talking about you or anything. It's just the fact that I'm saying swear words and my mom listening. Just like I can't even. I don't even want to think about that. So like, but
What a good son.
right, exactly. I was like, I don't even want her to hear some of that stuff. But like me and my mom's relationship, a lot of the stuff I talk about in my music, I've probably talking to her about, just not as vulgar. So it's like she would understand some of the stories, especially now I've gotten older, like especially once I hit college, like 18, 19. You know, I got a lot more comfortable telling my mom stuff because like, well, I give myself a buffer. Wherever the mess up is, give myself like 5-6 months and then tell mom. So it's like, all right, this has all been handled. She doesn't have to freak out about it and like it's all handled. But yeah, I say she seems to really like my music now. For the songs I've allowed her to listen to. Uh, but yeah, she's a fan. She's definitely a fan. And that was definitely one of my bigger Christmas gifts, if you will, when I was back home in Milwaukee, kind of hearing how much she still is tapped in and wants to know. So she was like, well, how come you don't ever send me any of the articles and things like that? So I was like, so now I'm working on getting a big link because I mean I could just send her my website, but
What
that's too much work for her. So I just send her
what's your
like,
mom's name? Let's say hi to her.
LaRonda Bennett. Yeah, happy slightly belated birthday. She was born on the eve of Christmas Eve, December 23rd. So yes, LaRonda Bennett.
Rhonda, you have a very talented son. You've got a lot of fans. How did Milwaukee shape you? Did it?
Oh,
Who you are today?
mm-hmm. I'd say it shaped me because what I've kind of touched on earlier is just it kept me around so many different cultures and different types of people. You know, Milwaukee is definitely one of the most, if not the most, like segregated city in the country. So, you know, there were like those nice parts of town are only about 5 minutes away from some of the most nice parts of town. So it's not like, oh, if you're in the city, this is all bad, and then you got to go 20, 30 minutes outside and you find all the nice stuff. It's like, no, you could this same road. I was actually on this road when I was back home, called Lake Drive. If you take Lake Drive, you can see mansions on the lakeside, and you keep taking the road for 10, 15 minutes, you're going to see things you've probably seen in The Wire, so it's going to switch up there. Everything is very close, but everything's so separated. So you can kind of see the different sides of the fence, very easily. So I'd say that's how it influenced me the most. As far as my upbringing, it's just like I was always around a bunch of different cultures, whether it be because of school, whether it be because of my mom, because my mom had a bunch of different friends. So like if I had to go to work with her one day, because she taught in education, so she just naturally just had a diverse group of like older friends that, that might have had kids that she had me around. So yeah, I'd say that diversity definitely
And what does
is.
that diversity do for you today in your daily life now in Baltimore? What is that? How does that how does that help you, do you think? That understanding of diversity, the understanding of different cultures a little bit more than maybe some have had the opportunity. Do you think it helps you?
Yeah, I'd say so. Because I came out here basically like by myself. My best friend, shout out Tag, he helped me move out here, and then he stayed with me for a couple of days, and then he left. But I didn't know anyone out here when I first came out here. Then coincidentally, I met one of my best friends that I have now, who I met through school. But when I moved out here, I didn't know he was out here. He happened to live like 2 or 3 blocks away, so that was kind of crazy. But yeah, because like out here, I mean, Baltimore is very similar to Milwaukee in that sense, where it's like it's a very diverse city, but the pockets are pretty segregated. So it's like, you have all these different types of races, cultures, different socioeconomic statuses that are all kind of like right next to each other. Like they're all kind of right on top of each other. So it's definitely helped me being able to kind of navigate as far as just like not just my friends, but the people I work with, have had to come across with, musically even for the most part. It's definitely helped me a lot because, I kind of grew up just knowing like, not to sound too down, but no matter what you look like, you probably suck. So you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter. Like you could be the greatest person, you could be the worst person, you probably suck. So it's like, well, what does it matter? I don't care what you look like. It really doesn't matter. I've seen people who have some of the nicest houses that I would not spend 5 minutes with, and there are people out here who sleep under boxes that I've had chats with for hours. So it's like it really doesn't matter. All it's gonna matter is like how do you treat people and what is your overall, I guess, aura or vibe or whatever the kids are saying nowadays is, and that's gonna determine. So I definitely say growing up like that in Milwaukee has helped me be out here in Baltimore just like kind of anytime out of my quote unquote comfort zone.
Do you think of home as a place or is it a mindset?
Especially after this break, I've gone back and forth with that because at first you think it's a place because especially if all of your family members are either born from there or still live there, it's kind of hard to not call it a place. But then it's like, especially like once I went off to school and have been living out here in Baltimore, like I definitely consider Baltimore a home too. And I don't have any family out here either. So I definitely, it's hard. I don't want to be that guy who sits on the fence about it. I'd say it leans more towards where you made the most memories and where you've made the most connections and like the most changes in your life. So if you feel like that's where you grew up and where you were born, then that could be it. Or if you just feel like, okay, this is just depending on the people I'm around and the type of people I'm around, this is gonna feel like home. But I definitely lean more towards a place as of right now, but overall, I think it's just like wherever you got those experience from, those, very life-changing, if you will, experiences, those, kind of detrimental or very, key experiences that help shape you later on in life, I would say that's where we're home.
Do you feel like, I like that answer. That's a good answer. Do you feel like you're representing your city, your home city of Milwaukee today, or was it merely a moment in your life? Do you think it will always be a part of your life in some way in your music, creatively, in your artistry?
Yeah, I think I always talk about and represent Milwaukee in my music. Even though I know my music doesn't necessarily sound like the stereotypical 414 Milwaukee sound that's out now. That is, kind of sweeping the nation, if you will, definitely across TikTok. But I don't have that direct Milwaukee sound. But as far as talking about the city and like my experiences and just family members, things I've been through, like I'm gonna always talk about that and put that in a song most likely. Like I always try to say 414 or like bucks and six. Like I it's just I say bucks and six just at random. So it's like that's just never not gonna that's never not gonna be a part of me. But like kind of like I get what you're saying because like I've been out here for like 5 or 6 years and like I definitely have talked about Baltimore, Maryland, the DMV a bunch of my music as well. But I don't think there'll ever be a time or a reason that I won't kind of represent like Milwaukee in music just because I especially since it's one of those the sister city that I hate when people say about is Chicago and stuff, which I get. It's a little bit smaller, but I digress. But I feel like Milwaukee doesn't get represented or just talked out loud enough about
Yeah.
by people, whether it be in music, sports, even
It had
movies,
such a
film.
rich history.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely try to keep a positive light on it as much as possible because it's been responsible for a lot more culture than people realize. So I
Right.
definitely always try to speak life into the city.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and hip hop, emerged in the 70s, right, in the Bronx. And it was, in those days, kind of a cultural response to what was going on socially, economically, and a lot of political conditions were in the early hip hop and that music and brought up by the artists that brought it to life. When you were growing up, and even today, when you were growing up, I should say in Milwaukee, were there social, economic, and political conditions in your hometown, or did you not really see that? Was that not a part of, um, what was going on in the city? Was that part of your consciousness and writing, or in your adopted city now of Baltimore? Do you ever feel like you need to address some of those things that you're seeing around you culturally in your lyrics?
Yeah, I think early on, especially when I was like a teenager, I tried to avoid it. I was still right about it, like I said, because I was like kind of me getting how I felt out, but I was like, I don't want anyone to see these. But then when I first started making music, especially after like a year or two, I definitely became more comfortable in talking more about my experiences that I like either witnessed, heard about, seen, lived through, whatever it is, in Milwaukee specifically just because it's like I was very 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 lucky to not have to grow up in like in just impoverished
Mm-hmm.
but I had like family members who did so like I saw that stuff like I could go to like the suburbs chill with my friends and then say oh we need to go visit so and so on the weekends and then like they're gonna live in like in the city so it's like I was very very lucky that I didn't have to grow up in that but like I think that's what also kind of kept me humble and level is like although I don't grow up in this, I still know people that are within the degree of me that are in this. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me to not like bring it up and talk about it, especially once you become when you're a kid, you don't really realize it, but like as a teenager, you hear about how each side of the fence talks about each other. So like being able to kind of see both and like actually hear what each side of the fence was saying about each other, that definitely always kind of made me feel away when I was younger. And then now I'm older, it's like I'll never fully understand why, but like I get why the top looks down and the down looks up if that makes sense but it's just like and I get why they talk about each other the way they do but it's like I feel like there should be light shed on both sides about how they're really feeling about what's going on down there and vice versa how down there feels like the people up there got what they got so it's like I always try to talk about as much of that as possible especially just from me being on the outside looking in from both of those perspectives I think it's very very important just to kind of bring awareness to that kind of like I said, like there's billions of different types of people. There's all different types of people out there. So it's just like just because you may know this schematic, you may know this socioeconomic status of this person, like you still have no clue who that person is. That could be your best friend, but like you guys might have completely different ways of lives right now. But I'm sure if you sat, got a coffee, talked for an hour or two, found one or two common things in life, you probably like, wow, I'd really hang out with that person. So I try to always keep my perspective like that when I'm talking about different socioeconomic statuses and like the things I see that happen that either have happened in Milwaukee or that I see happen in Baltimore, I definitely still try to bring that up as much as I can.
Yeah, you're a watcher, you're a seeker, and that's why your lyrics are so powerful. You have a great perspective because you've seen both sides, or all different sides, or from upside down to right side up. You you're an observer, and then you're a messenger on that. Your lyrics and your music I think, comment. That's why they're so powerful. That you've got that perspective gives you great power to comment through your eyes. So, yeah, that's great. Was there anything culturally growing up that affected you that you wrote about or that you felt some sort of calling towards? Is there anything that stands
Um,
out in memory?
I'd say culturally, I'm trying to think any like significant moments while I was growing up. Because yeah, especially once I started writing and releasing music, a lot of stuff like because I started releasing music like as you said in 2019, so like in 2020, when all the riots and things like that were going on across the nation, that gave me
Yeah.
like, of course, a lot more content, but not necessarily things I just want to talk about that you saw in the news, but it was like new ways of like thinking about like just seeing all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was definitely a lot of stuff I wrote about, especially I'd say yeah, the whole like Black Lives Matter movement, all that kind of stuff. And then like even like yeah, because COVID as well. So like just talking about that and how people viewed personal space and like how they viewed getting vaccinated and not getting vaccinated. So like there are a lot of stuff that happened definitely in my latter like early 20s, but in my childhood and like teenage years, it's like a lot of the significant things that were going on I didn't necessarily like understand because like I was like I was a little kid when like 9/11 happened and then like the Iraq war kind of ended and was subdued right around like I was like early middle school, mid like going towards high school. So like that's kind of like one of the bigger events, like even like Katrina. I
Mm-hmm.
was born around like I think I was between like 7 and 8 years old. So like I knew about those things, but I didn't have like the wherewithal to like be able like, oh, let me go look this up and like what's
Yeah.
actually going on. Because like I'm part of that I'm part of that generation that heard the whole like Chappelle went to Africa, and so it's like as a kid, like I just okay, like I guess that's what happened. But then like once I got older, you do the research, right? Okay, that's just Hollywood being Hollywood. So like a lot of that stuff, I grew up in like that era of like that kind of like the first original like clickbaity or like the Esquire magazine type of like big headlines, but it was like, well, internet was still kind of, I mean, it was out, but it was like I didn't get like a phone till I was like 12 or 13. So it was like, I didn't anything before that time. And even then, like I only had like Google, like
Yeah.
there was nothing else like and that and Facebook until like I got like a teenager in college when like all these new apps, you have AI and stuff. So now it's easy to look that stuff and be like, is this real? Is someone just saying this? But back then it was like, it could be, it could not be. It's like I don't know. I'm a kid. I don't really care too much to look into it. So I'd say yeah, a lot of like the only like significant events either happening in my city or worldwide that I write about kind of now would be those events I just touched on. But like that was going on then that I was like, oh, I'm gonna write about this. Probably not, just because like I said, I was just like a kid or like a teenager. So it was like, I was too cool to listen. I was too cool to
But
look it up. So
you just listed so many events there that some of them that I had forgotten about. So you're like a encyclopedia for
it was
historical events.
there.
They're there. You called them up. Yeah, I can't believe we lived through all that stuff.
Right, right,
Oh
right.
man, you so you mentioned your uncles, turned you on to a bunch of music, bunch of these godfathers of rap, and these iconic names that created this music that we all grew up on. Do you ever feel any of those godfathers of rap, any of those musicians uh, through you when you're creating your music? Because your music is beautiful, but it does pay tribute in some respects to some of those godfathers. And do you ever feel their spirit with you? Do you ever call on anyone in particular? Or
Yeah, I definitely try to keep a good amount of those guys in mind when I'm making music, especially if I'm just making like the basic boom bap type of stuff. Like that's usually who I'm thinking about. Definitely like the Jay-Z, the Nas, like one of my not underrated, but I feel like it doesn't get talked about. Like Big L is probably like my favorite from around that era. As far as like that kind of quote unquote golden era of hip hop and when it was made. And then like I was definitely like a big Biggie guy as well.
yeah,
So listen to them when I got older and then like making the music I make, I definitely always keep them in mind. Or even sometimes like I'll like play some of their songs to get a jump off point or like inspiration into what I'm trying to write right now. So I definitely always keep those guys in mind. Not necessarily just to be like, oh, just to like, pay homage and respect the culture, but it's just like that's what I, like you said, grew up listening to, and that's what my ears ended up liking the most. So like when I need inspiration or like when I need a jump off point or something, I'll go back and listen to like The What by like Big and like Method Man. Like I'll go back and listen to like one of Big L's freestyles. Like I'll go back and listen to all that kind of stuff just to kind of put another like battery back in my back and be like, okay, this is what I kind of want to write about. Like that'll give me a jumping off point. So definitely.
Yeah, I love that. And in 2020, you dropped your mixtape Dolo, which helped build your audience and showcased your layered lyricism and your soulful production on that mixtape. Why a mixtape? Did it symbolize something to you artistically? I love mixtapes. I know about mixtapes, but I don't know if a lot of people do.
Yeah, I mean the mixtape era, and I mean even me saying it, I'm like the new gen mixtape era, because like the OG, when it was like people were literally making mixtapes of their demos and giving them out to people. I was born past that, but the mixtape era that I grew up in was like I'm gonna rap on anyone's beat and put it out, and so like that was like my mixtape era. So it's like the Lil Waynes, that whole run, whatever, like the No Ceilings, all that, like playing any of that, the whole Dat Piff being able to go on and be like, okay, who did this? Like I remember like one of the first beats I started like writing raps to was the Roger That beat by Lil Wayne, and I started writing to it because Bow Wow did a freestyle over that beat, and I was just like, what? Like anyone can just write, like that was the first time I was like, oh, you can just use a hot beat and put your own thing, and then it might become as hot because the beat is good, and it's like if what you're saying is good, it's going to be good too. So I think I still call them mixtapes to kind of pay homage to that era. Like I've never really put out an actual mixtape in that definition where it's just been me rapping over a bunch of stuff. I might put out freestyles every once in a while, but an actual mixtape where it's like I said, like those Lil Wayne mixtapes. I think even Wiz Khalifa used to do those kind of those mixtapes. And then like of course you can find archives of a bunch of different other artists just rapping over other people's beats and putting it out. And then like even to the point where it was getting on the radio, like that was unheard of. So like the fact that was so popular was just like, well, I just need to find the hottest beat and I just need to rap on it, and then everyone's going to listen to it. So it's like that kind of gave me like a jumping off point for just not only just writing like actual lyrics, but like, okay, this is like kind of how you can see how I can see what I have to say is going to sound like over something that's already big. So
very cool. Well, and can we can go to your website. Are you? I actually didn't. I think the store wasn't working right now, but we can eventually send people to purchase these albums and the
that's
your various.
That's the plan in the near future. Yeah, I'm kind of updating the shop now just for the other merch, but yeah, I'd like to have a couple like vinyls and actual like CDs. That you can come and get, because I mean definitely there's the big, I don't want to say a boom, but like it seems like the physical media space is definitely kind of coming back in a sense. Of course, for the vintage look and the the nostalgic aspect, but just overall, it seems like people are starting to kind of like having like something in your hand as an actual souvenir, other than like, oh, it's just on my phone. So I'm definitely thinking about doing that for like specific ones, specific mixtapes or specific projects that I have out, like either doing some type of vinyls or like actual like CDs.
You definitely should. You've definitely got some interest there. Well, in hip hop culture, pop art and especially graffiti plays a significant role, I think, in the storytelling. You mentioned, I hope you don't mind if I mentioned that you really like cartoons and cartoon art or graphic art. Mm-hmm. How much does art manifest itself in your music? And is there something you're hot on, like you're a look or a style or an artist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say a lot. I'd say, especially in like the sound, like when I'm listening to like a beat pack or beats, like I kind of instinctually think like what sound or what movie, what show, whatever would go with what I'm hearing right now.
So it's just cinematic to you.
Yeah, I kind of do that instinctually. And so like kind of to touch on what we touched on earlier, as far as like kind of what I was first listening to before I chose my avenues. Like I used to love movie soundtracks. Like I thought movie soundtracks, and even this might be a hot take today as I'm older, I think movie soundtracks, and I don't get why they're not, should be considered as some of like the most perfect albums, quote unquote, simply because they expand across all genres, or even like video game soundtracks. Like video game soundtracks have rap, hip hop, reggae, Latino, country, folk. Like they have anything for any type of person. So it's like, why are those never considered in awards? But that's for another discussion. But as
You
far as
know, I'm doing a series on all the Hollywood iconic composers. I've talked about 20 of them. In
Mhm.
fact, I don't know if you saw Highest to Lowest, Spike Lee's movie.
I did, yes, I did.
Uh, did you like that? I
I thought
love
it was
that
cool.
movie.
I thought it was cool. Yeah, I like the concept. That was a good story.
I talked to Howard Drawson, who did the soundtrack for that. But I'm with you on that. Like music soundtracks
Yeah,
are so important,
yeah,
but not like they're overlooked. I think.
very much so. And I don't get why. I'm not
Yeah,
sure why. Especially with, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think, and I'm sure there's probably one before. I'm sure probably like Titanic or one of the old Disneys might have done this. But as far as like the Black Panther album that was executive produced by Kendrick, I feel like that was the first album that I've seen during my lifetime that like everyone went to listen to, and it was a movie soundtrack. But other than that, maybe like way back in the 90s, like I said, just me being a kid, I don't know, maybe people rushed to see or to get like the Beauty and the Beast and like the Tarzan and the Lion Kings when they first came out. Like maybe Lion King might have been up there. But as far as like what I've seen with my own eyes, I feel like that album, the Black Panther one, is the only one where it's like this was a movie soundtrack, but people treated it like it was just a genuine album. Like they went out
yeah,
and got it to listen to it. So like whenever I'm listening to things, I definitely am always thinking like what cartoon, what movie, what
hmm
what episode does this go with? And even like what I'm saying, not necessarily like lyrics talking about cartoons, but even what I'm saying, we kind of touched on it. Like I want to have those metaphors or those like onomatopoeias or like
yeah.
those kind of extra things that are like kind of goofy and wacky that you wouldn't necessarily say, whether it be like my ad libs, the verse, the bar. I kind of throw in that in
Yeah.
how I rap, just like cartoonish in a way. So
So you absorb the pop culture, the art, the movies, the soundtracks,
mhm.
what's happening. You absorb all that, and that's all part of your toolbox where you can wordsmith, pick and choose, and where does this go in this song or that song or this lyric? Where does it belong?
Yep.
That's very it's genius. I like it. How about? I mean, rap stars are usually very bold and rely a lot on pop culture and clothing and fashion and
Mhm.
to build their brand, right? How much time do you put in that? How much time do you put in your brand? Or are you just Alan Ward? This is who I am. This is what I represent. This is my art.
Yeah, I mean, I of course you want to always put your best foot forward. So for my overall brand, I try to keep it as clean as possible, if you will. But it's just like how much effort. I mean, I'm putting in a lot of effort in the music itself, making the music. But as far as kind of like you said, the clothes and how I look and like the imagery and stuff, it's like I want people to know Alan Ward's just a person. That's just a dude who chose his middle name and the second half of his last name and just went with that. Like that's why all my like socials are just it's just Des. Like at the end of the day, I still want people to view Alan Ward as just like that's just a person. Like he
Yeah.
just talks funny over beats from time to time, but that's just a guy. So it's like
But
I don't
that
go.
plays back into your artist integrity
Mhm,
and your authenticity that
mhm.
you talked about in the beginning. What that's your brand. That's who you are. You are what you see, and you get what you see, and but you get a lot from you. I like that. So I'm just curious because all this stuff developing. You are an independent artist. You have done everything on your own, and I'm just very curious about the steps that you take because you got to think about all this stuff. It's got to be a little bit overwhelming as you build. But at the end of the day, it's the music that I heard. It's the person that wrote that music that I heard. You.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, that's I think what you probably really want out there, right? What you really want to
Exactly.
stand out. Um, Alan, is there a story arc? I mean, we talk cinematography, you talk cartoons, we talk
Mhm.
about these words, these beautiful words that you choose that are lyrical and melodic. But is there a story arc that you want your work to tell over your lifetime through the body of work? Have you thought that far in advance of like what I started here and I want it my story is going to end here and I'm going to tell in between all these things that happen.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think so. I think I would like some type of story where it's like okay, the beginning, especially like the first few projects I put out in 2019, 2020, 2021. I kind of want that to sound like okay, this was someone who was just like let's just try this. Let's just do this. People have told you to do it. let's get some stuff out. Let's get, kind of some of the initial feelings we have, some of the initial thoughts. And then I guess overall, I want the story to just get more polished as it's
Mm-hmm.
going until it gets to a complete place of comfort, because you want to go up to the climax. And so I feel like I'm still kind of going to that pivotal point in the story, the climax, but it's like I still want people, no matter where they are in the story, to be able to find similarities from the beginning and through the end as well. So I'd say I just want the overall story to, like I said, just to get more and more kind of polished over time. Not necessarily that's going to just completely change. Of course, you get older, you have new things happen to you. So I definitely want to still diversify my music by still putting in real life stories, and hopefully I can do enough, diverse things and unique things in life to talk about that. But overall, I'd say I just want people to be like, okay, this was someone who was just trying raps. He said, I'm just gonna put something out here, and now it's like, oh, he really made like music. Like he really made some like music here. Like there's a lot of substance that he's putting in the music. There's the sounds better, the stories are a little bit better, that he might be more precise in what he's saying, how he's saying it. I just wanted to age kind of, I guess, like wine. I just wanted to age very well. I just wanted to age very well.
Well, I'm going to look forward to anything that you put out there, and so far it's aging pretty well, my friend.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Are there two Alan Wards? One, the boy from Milwaukee, and one, the artist, and which one gets priority? Most often.
I say most often is definitely the first Alan Ward, the one from Milwaukee. I feel like that's the one always keeps me in my comfort zone, keeps me humble, keeps me level-headed, if you will. But Alan Ward, the artist, is the one. He gets annoyed a lot. He quits a lot. He he is the one that's like, man, is this even worth it all the time? So he's definitely like the mask, if you will. But still also very important, because that mask is also the reason I can do wonderful things like this interview. You know what I'm saying? I can go out the states and play. I can invite people over to my home and have studio sessions. I can have billboards. I can send my mom articles. Like, so I have to also like be very appreciative of that Alan Ward too, because everyone likes a little ego boost. Everyone likes a little serotonin. A little something to make them feel better. But it's I'd say Alan Ward, the kid, little Dez from Milwaukee, is definitely who always gets priority. At most it might be like 55-45 him. I try not to go 50-50, but I'd say 55-45 if it gets real bad. But overall, we try to just be Dez at the end of the day.
When you look at your career right now, and where you started, how that interest started so young, at 12, writing poetry, writing lyrics, and it grew, and now, and you're a young artist, but you've really done a lot in that time since 2019 with your first album. Are you on track? Are you hopeful? Are you where you want to be?
I'd say I'm hopeful. I definitely would say I'm hopeful. Like I kind of said just previously, I go back and forth some days. But I'm definitely now kind of going into this new year, I'm definitely hopeful. I'd like to say I'm on track. I don't think I've necessarily taken too many like backslides. And if I have, or if that graph of momentum isn't going like this, but it's been going like this more so, I'd like to put a lot more of that blame on myself. So I'd say if 12-year-old me saw me now, he would definitely, I don't necessarily want to say disappointed. I mean, of course, as a kid, you think with this day and age, the first song going to drop, Grammy, like so it's like that kid might be disappointed, but like the teenage 18, 19-year-old me, looking back on it, I think he'd be like, wow, you really, you did some stuff. You did more than you thought you would have probably. So I definitely want to stay hopeful, stay on track, and think hopefully the slope has a higher crescendo, this year.
Yeah, just stick with it, man. You've definitely got talent. I read an article and you were discussing your record, Bore Basket of Raps. You said it's also a record about frustration and coming to terms with the reality that the rest of the world will never care as much about your own art as you do. Sometimes it feels like you're just asking people for help or telling people about yourself over and over again, and then nothing changes, and you're the only one who believes in yourself. Do you still feel that way?
I mean, overall, honestly, I'd say yeah, for the most part, and that's wild you bring up that article because yeah, that was some time ago now. But yeah, I'd still overall, I mean, you definitely come across people that are going to be willing to help you in this life, not necessarily just with music, but just in life in general, but specifically with music. You're going to come across a lot more people that are going to want to quote unquote help you or like, you know, put you on the next step to do this and this and this. And at the end of the day, it's still going to be like, well, if it happens or doesn't happen, it's going to be on you to make that decision if it's going to happen, to either try it. If you try it and it fails, then at least you know. But if you don't do anything at all, you'll never know. So it's like, yeah, only person that's going to care enough to try and to keep going and to take L's and find some W's every once in a while is you. So it's like like you said, you could have this interview and this could have, you know, tomorrow have 2 million hits. If I decide to stop doing music, it's not going to matter because it's like, well, he's got all those hits, but it's like, he's not doing anything afterwards. It's like he has to give us a reason to keep tuning in. So yeah. I definitely think I still have that feeling because it's like people are gonna help you, people are gonna be fans, people are gonna want to do what's best for you, but like you're the only person that's gonna get you to that next spot. And right. The work you do is gonna get you to that next spot. So it's like even this great example. Of course, we said best for last, but with this interview, I could have just been like, you know what, it's been once or twice. I'm just gonna stop. It is what it is, but you have to keep trying. If you don't know, I mean, you can't really complain if you didn't try.
Right. So what is next for you, Alan? What is next? What are you excited for? What's coming up in the new year?
New year, definitely more new music, and I'd say more new content. As far as I don't want to necessarily say like expanding the Alan Ward brand, but as far as like I'm trying to get a lot more in the background of entertainment as well. Not necessarily like have my face out there, if you will. So like doing like interview series I'll have in my house. You know, helping people edit lyric videos, kind of editing and shooting people's music videos. You know, I call myself a broke philanthropist, a small budget investor, if you will. I've done a couple things where I've done like some Kickstarters to get like my name in comic books or like kind of get my name as far as like you've helped, you know, fund this short film, you know, so just different ways of promotion to get my name out there, but still in ways like I want, like those are all things I want to do and want to be a part of when I'm, you know, kind of throughout life. But yeah, I'd say the next year is just more diversity in the entertainment as well. I want to definitely, you know, like host some events. You know, I try to do these like studio sessions that I was trying to have the end of this year, but I'm going to try to reschedule them for sometime in February where I just have a bunch of artists come out to a space and just kind of create. So I just want 2026 to be the year of consistency and diversity within the actual overall Alan Ward umbrella.
And under that umbrella, or out from underneath that umbrella, it sounds like we're going to get a lot more of Alan Ward. So I'm happy about that. And that's a happy new year for me right there. We are doing this show on New Year's Eve. This is the last show of the year. And it's, as we said earlier, the best for last, saved Alan Ward for the best for last. The last show of the year. And we're about to play your newest single right now. It's called The Great Time, featuring For the Brotherhood. Tell me about the song. Set it up for us.
Yeah, so this track for Great Time featuring my guy For the Brotherhood is a part of a longer project that I want to have that will be titled APB. So this is a alt pop boom bap track that I've been sitting on for quite some time, but I reached out to the feature For the Brotherhood. He is from the UK. He kind of makes rock, indie, pop type of songs, and so he does an extremely well job of complimenting me on the hook while I kind of do the same old, you know, just talking funny over whatever beat I have in front of me. So yeah, it's a great track, and it's been received pretty well. And like I said, it's definitely something different from what I've put out previously. This is kind of my first time exploring into a different sound, if you will.
Well, it's great. And here we're going to play it in just a second. The Radio Milwaukee says rappers like Alan Ward are carrying the torch for Milwaukee, even from outside the city. And Alan Ward's website, you can go to It's Just As. How do you say it? It's Just As? Just Is. ITASJUSDEZ.com. Same for Instagram handle. And in the podcast copy, I'll put the Spotify where you can listen to Alan's music on Spotify and Apple. Again, go to his website and keep up with Alan. The Jeremiah shows airs Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Radio Evolve Rocks in Santa Barbara. So tune in and listen more and evolve. Alan, anything that you anybody you'd like to say hello to, or final words for you, my friend?
Yeah, kind of like Jeremiah said, check me out everywhere at It's Just Des. It's Just Des.com. Hopefully, I got a lot of stuff coming on. Want to thank the wonderful Jeremiah for having me today. Shout out everyone. Everyone have a safe New Year. Everyone get to 2026 safely. Shout out the Bucks, man. Shout out the Bucks. Shout out Milwaukee Bucks.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go. I love it. All right. Thanks a lot, Alan. Alan Ward, our special guest this hour. And here it is, the new single by Alan. It is, excuse me, I had to choke there a little bit for a second. It's a Great Time featuring For the Brotherhood, coming up right now. See you next week.